Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by Chicago Charitable Games, better known as CCG Poker in beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Also brought to you this episode by Paramount Social Club in Houston, Texas. Hey, Brando, what's going on?
I love the Chicago love.
Oh, yeah, you know me. It's actually nice weather now, so I feel much better about saying the beautiful Chicago because it's been
so
kind
when
of
it's
shitty.
60 out, you can just say
I can
beautiful
say it.
Chicago.
It's like perfect outside right now, which is amazing.
Yes.
It's not always that good. So some big news. I don't even want to do like funny jokes or like that's as funny as I'm going to get because some kind of big poker news happened on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Doyle Brunson, the Godfather of poker, as they've been coining him lately in all the articles that I've been reading about him, passed away on Monday. Quite sad. Do you know on our Facebook page for CCG Poker, like I always do a Monday poker article?
Yep.
And like if it's a good article, like that Robbie thing that happened at Hustler where the Jack Force cheating scandal happened.
Yep, Robbie Lou.
That was like a super popular article and kind of controversial, right? It got like 2,300 impressions. What do you think Doyle Brunson passing away? How many people noticed that article?
Well, based on 2,300 being popular, based on the fact that it just got to be higher than that, I'm going double, 5,200.
Yeah, it was almost like 5,000, which is like crazy to think about. But I think that kind of goes into the whole idea here that he really was the biggest, most recognizable poker player, poker pro on the planet.
Yeah.
For everybody. And the idea being is it's like generational, right? Like my dad still knows
timeless.
my dad knows who Doyle Brunson is. My grandfather knew who Doyle Brunson was. I know who Doyle Brunson is. My wife even's like, oh, I know him. I'm like, yeah, exactly. She doesn't play any poker.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the few handful of guys you can just pluck out of the poker community and the general population would be like, oh, yeah, I've at least heard of him, seen his face, and know that I don't really know anything about him. Maybe that his favorite hand was 10 deuce or, something like that. But yeah, he's pretty sad news, first of all. 89, though.
89.
That's a good run.
I never feel too terribly bad when somebody who's 89 passes away. I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. Nobody wants to die. I want to live forever, like the Highlander. But 89, you lived a good life. I'm okay with that.
I mean, just the fact that he was still able to get into the Bellagio and
still
Vegas and play into his late 80s.
Still playing high stakes games like at Aria recently.
The highest stakes.
Nosebleed.
I mean, yeah. I would love to play those games at any point in my career, let alone at
I think that's
88.
I think that's the other testament to Doyle Brunson is that there were never any stories. Now, if they're true or not, who knows? But there were never any stories about him going bust and like playing on other people's money or like he is a true like red-blooded American who made it from the 50s until now. I don't know if 50s is right, but
50s is right.
He played in the 50s, and you said earlier before the podcast, played in the 50s in backroom card games in Texas where there were like guns on the table. Like being a professional poker player.
Cheating, you're getting blasted.
You're out.
Arms getting,
not like you're out or like they break your thumbs. Like you just
like
disappear.
GG.
You just disappear. You're just gone.
Right, like Doyle Brunson dead at 21. Not
right, like you're just gone. So I find it incredibly, it goes to how good of a player he was to be able to go all of that time and be a professional poker player grinding out games for that long is just, it's beyond amazing. It gets wild.
And let's talk about the fact that all of these stories that I'm reading on Twitter, I mean, there's not one person that doesn't, I mean, the dude had buku bucks.
Right.
I mean, self-made from the poker table, from a literal life of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
He never screwed anybody. He never, borrowed anybody. You see guys that
those stories always come out. Like, doesn't matter what it is.
When there was people that were on top of the world in 2004 when high stakes poker, and they're gone. They've been busted 3 times. I mean, think of Jamie Gold. Think of these guys that they run up 12 million. They're relevant for a few years and they're gone.
Who is the guy from Darien, Illinois? He had like purple hair.
Yeah, I know.
Don't even know what his name is. I can't even remember his name.
Right.
But he's a flash in the pants compared to Doyle Brunson.
He won like back-to-back bracelets one summer, and everybody was coining him the best.
Yeah, the next Doyle Brunson.
Yep.
He was born in 1933. It's crazy.
Yeah, so 50. So,
but you were saying the idea that not only was he able to be in the poker community for that long, never seemed to go completely bust where like he had to borrow, beg, or steal or sell his name or do anything weird, you know, like start Doyle's Donuts or some shit. So to stay for that long, to be able to never go broke in that time frame, at least to the point where he had to quit, that doesn't ever seem to have happened. And then also to not have really anybody out there that he has wronged in some way or had a bad story or anything, and not have any negative stories out there. Like, it's great. Like, you would still get a couple. Like, I guarantee when Phil Hellmuth goes, and I'm not wishing him any ill luck or ill health in any way, shape, or form, there are going to be a lot of people on Twitter bad-mouthing the shit out of him. Like, he was an asshole. He's a jerk. What a jagoff. Blah, blah, blah. Like, doesn't matter that, let the dead, live kind of thing. Like, that doesn't seem to have happened, right?
No, it doesn't seem like that at all. And one of the Twitter stories I just kind of want to dive into because you'll appreciate, they were saying that back in the 90s, he was playing golf for $1 million a hole.
Jesus.
And you got to remember, 90s might even be pre when he was at his richest. Because there hadn't even been the poker boom yet. Hadn't even been the online, the Doyle's Room.
Online didn't exist. I played Doyle's Room for a long time.
Everybody that wants to play with them in the back room of Bellagio, all the Chinese businessmen. I mean, that stuff all happened from the time he was 65 till 85, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're looking at, he lived a whole life before that.
He lived a whole life of poker that is worthy of a movie and a story and to be written about before anything. Like, that's before pre-1980. Like, just hear about 70s Doyle, because he wrote Super System in what year? 78?
78.
So, I mean, he wrote Super System in 78, which arguably, if you were going to ask about a poker book, that would be the most important, or at least the most recognizable. And I keep thinking, like, general public-wise, like, he has crossed over from being a poker famous to, like, actually being outside world famous, where people recognize him that don't even play the sport in which he's involved in, right? Kind of like I hate to say Tiger Woods, but like there are people who know Tiger Woods that have no idea about golf, and they just know that's Tiger Woods. He plays golf. He's awesome. He's really good. There's people who don't play poker, and they're like, oh, that's Doyle Brunson. He's really good. He's like the best.
And you got to think of the eras. It's like Wilt Chamberlain somehow like still being like relevant today. Like there's been so many people that have not passed them up, but had greater accomplishments, done the whole game's change. And like Doyle almost went through all that. He went and played the 7-card studs, and then he went and played the limits, and then like as soon as it crossed over to no limit, he was like a pioneer ahead of that. And now he still played all the mixed games, like the biggest. It's like almost like it's legendary. Crazy. Like
it is legendary. I guess that's the point of it. It's very neat to think about it because you're right. I didn't even think about that aspect. The span is so big.
Inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame in '88.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So he's already a Hall of Famer before poker's even cool.
He should have two. He should have two Hall of Fame notorieties. Be like, all right, here's your Hall of Fame career from your birth till 88, and then we're going to start over at 0, and you still qualify for a Hall of Fame record even after that,
Or like a post poker boom double Hall of Fame. Yeah. And then, especially when mixing and gambling, like you look, I'm just keep on quoting the NBA, but like you look at Jordan, he had his issues. You look at Kobe, he had his issues. It's hard to find some of like the, Tiger Woods, they all have their issues. There's always something you can like pick out and, make them imperfect or make them less than, desirable in some situation. You mix Doyle with gambling, which is arguably probably the slipperiest slope of all those slopes, and nobody has a bad thing to say about him. It's pretty incredible. That's almost worth more than the accomplishments. To pass away and you have 1,000 people on Twitter all saying cool stories and nobody being like, that guy sucked. He was the worst. One time he borrowed $5K from me. You know, you just never had
dodged me in my whole life. To be in this kind of world, in this gambling world, and not have any kind of like, you know, drinking problems or drug problems or money borrowing
look at
problems,
Stu Unger.
or just like a jag-off, you know? Not that Stu Younger was drag, but Stu Younger had tons of addiction problems.
Yeah, he had his vices.
It kind of ruined his career. He could have had a much better career. He could have had a Doyle Brunson career if he'd have been a better person in the sense of no addictions to drugs and alcohol. Never seemed like Doyle got into that stuff. Now, granted, we know him. You know, I'm 40.
That's why I dug deeper. I was looking for stuff. I couldn't find it.
We know him a little bit. He was an old man in the 2000s when I was really starting to play poker in my early 20s. And, like, he kind of just looked like an old, sweet grandpa kind of guy, you know?
That's what I thought. I was like, he was old when I was 10.
Right. I guess when he had his wild days were when he was playing in Texas in these backroom games, and you were literally a rounder in the sense that you would drive around to all of these different games. How the hell did they set these games up? Like, how do you play in a home game that long ago? Were they just like underground games? Like, I don't know. Where underground was actually like dangerous to play in now.
Yeah.
Or then now it's like, man, whatever. Like it's mildly dangerous, and it's certainly not as good as say playing like charity poker or a club in Houston or a casino. And there are people who like that kind of gritty underground nature of the game, but you're never 100% sure if it's real or, you know.
Yep, there's always going to be your doubts in the underground games, and this is in 2023. I couldn't imagine them 70 years ago.
Yeah.
So another interesting thing, 10 bracelets, obviously.
Yep.
Back-to-back main event champions, 76 and 77.
When was the first main event?
See, now you're quizzing me on stuff I don't know.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll look it up.
But
you keep going.
You type, I'm going to talk. But Super System came out in 78, and I think it's kind of crazy that, like, he just ships back-to-back main events and then, like, reveals his kind of strategy to everybody. Like, that was kind of big.
It's huge.
Like, people, when I say people, they're good sources. They're professional poker players. They all have a blue check mark on their Twitter. But, like, even like Dan Grande, it's like, the guy was so good that he could tell everybody how he was beating them and then still beat them for another 40 years. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, 1970 was the first. Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, never mind. Let me look at this again. Since 1972, the main event, WSOP, has been the $10,000 buy-in no at Texas Hold'em tournament. The 71 buy-in was $5,000, and the inaugural 70 event was an invitation with the winner determined by a vote from the players. The fuck does that mean? You know what? We should have a CSOP main event, and we're just going to vote on who's the best player. That seems a very conducive way to pick a winner. Are you kidding me?
Right. That takes the luck out of it.
Johnny Moss won, though. There were only 7 entrants. I guess you just
70?
play and see what happens. Johnny Moss won the second one. And you got Amarillo Slim, Pudgy Pearson. What a great name. Johnny Moss again. Sailor Roberts. So good. And then Texas Dolly, 2 years in a row. 76 and 77. And no shit, I kid you not, he won his main event in 1976 with...
I'm listening. I'm on the edge of my seat.
10 deuce.
10 deuce.
Wins the 1977, the very next year, with...
10 deuce.
10 deuce. I didn't know that's why it was his hand. I just thought it was a hand that he liked and he goofed off with, like, you know, whatever.
No, he won 2 main events with it.
I didn't know he won 2 main events back to back. Man, if I was Texas Dolly, I'd just jam it all in every time I had 10 deuce. Be like, I'm in. Ooh, what would you say in all of the WSOP last hands, main event winners, one with a hand, what do you think the best hand is? Like the biggest...
Like the best possible hand?
Yeah, like the highest starting hand. What do you think the highest starting hand is for the last hand of the main event? It's pretty recent. Right.
Yeah, ace queen?
No, way better.
I don't know. Way better?
2019,
Kings?
Hussein Ensan.
Ensign, yeah.
That's what I said.
Ensign, yeah.
He won with Pocket Kings. Then earlier, you've got a 1983 Tom McAvoy won with Pocket Queens. Those are the best two hands who have ever been the last hand of the final table. Stewie Unger won with an Ace Queen suited. And also in here, I see an Ace King. This is really cool. I never knew this. Ryan Reese in 2013. A lot of middle pocket pairs. Pretty cool though. Back to Dolly. Super interesting.
Man, I had a quote I wanted to say. It was like, he's like, I got 3 rules. I shouldn't even say because I don't even know. I only know 1/3 of the quote. He's like, I got 3 rules in the poker table. Never play with somebody who's named after a city.
Nice.
So true. That's all I know. There's 2/3. But you said Texas Dolly, and it made me think. He's like named after a state.
Yep. States are fine. It's the cities you got to worry about. Like the Cincinnati Kid, you worry about him. Kid. Yeah. Texas Dolly didn't want to burn his bridges anywhere. It's probably chapter 3 of Super System. Never play with somebody whose name is like Pirate Paul the Pirate.
Sailor Jerry.
Yeah, Sailor Jerry or, Texas Dolly. That seems like a bad name. No nice guy who's a shitty card player gets a good name like that. It's just like Ken the Fish. Like that. That's a guy you could play with.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Brandon the punter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 4th and 19. Brandon.
4th and 19. It's first down, Brando. What do you want to do? Fuck it. Let's punt.
Let's just punt.
Let's punt. We've only been in this game for 20 minutes. We're down $8. Boo! Punt. 8,000 gone.
Yeah. So a couple of his quotes. I mean, I'm looking at his quotes. In order to be a successful gambler, you have to have a complete disregard for money. Very true.
I think a lot of people say that, and that's 100% true because you can't think of it as
poker is
money.
War. People pretend it's a game.
Go ahead. We go back and forth a little bit?
Yeah.
The key to No Limit is to put a man to a decision for all his chips. He's so famous that his line actually gets into the greatest poker movie of all time, Rounders, and they treat him as a king, as like better than the Godfather, almost like a poker god, where it's like, man, all the money they hide is in Super System. You read Super System, they talk about Super System, they talk about Texas Dolly, they talk about, I mean, it's very cool. I think it's neat.
Now he did say his mentor was Johnny Moss.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Is Johnny Moss much older than him? I'm curious. I mean, keep going.
I don't know. Google it.
I'm Googling it.
There's that one quote he had like on the Full Tilt or Poker After Dark. He's like, you don't get old. You don't quit playing because you get old. You get old because you quit playing. That's pretty true.
He never quit playing. He never really got any older. Never looked any older.
Yep.
Oh wow, Johnny Moss was born on May 14th, and Doyle Brunson died on May 14th, 2023. That's wild. Yeah. So Doyle Brunson was born in 1933.
That's what you said.
Yeah, 1933. His birthday's coming up, August 10th. 1933. Johnny Moss was born in 1907. So he was much older. So yeah, it would have definitely been like a mentor, kind of student, a little much different. I didn't know that they were that. I thought they were closer in age.
Yeah, that's just because we just see them as old.
Yeah,
don't realize there's actually 20.
Nobody sees the difference between 80 and 60 when you're 20.
It's so true.
Uh-huh.
Doyle Brunson looked so old when I was 15. He was really only 60. Like he lived a whole another 29 years, my whole life again. Crazy.
Huh.
I mean, yeah, it's just there's no way around it. That's kind of a big loss for poker. It
is. I mean, to lose an icon like that and nobody really prepared or eligible to kind of fill those shoes.
Yeah.
I mean,
because he's the only one still relevant from that time frame.
Yeah.
Like you now pass it on to like Phil Hellmuth.
That old guard is gone, and really, Phil Hellmuth. He Don't get me wrong. I like Phil Hellmuth. I think he's great. I think he's good for the game. He plays a character, and it works well. It's kind of like those guys that play poker, like a Todd, that just gets you under your skin to throw you off your game. That's a game plan, and it works. And Phil Hellmuth is extremely good at it, and he wins more money by pissing off other players. It's great, Doyle Brunson didn't need to do that. He took your money with a smile, and you probably gave it to him happily, and you were like, oh, this guy's, what a sweet old man.
Yeah, and I think he kind of changed the game. He was kind of the first one that was, like fearless. Like he understood that, like you have to, like, especially back in the day when I think people played so tight and, to the book, as we say now. Like I feel like he might have been one of those ones that was in the 70s and 80s, like just putting in 3, 4, 5 bets on the river, like in limit. Like knowing that they have to know I have it, but he's really just fearless and like, I'm willing to just show you my busted flush draw here if you want to call, but I got it, so just fold. That was like kind of against the grain back then. I mean, obviously nowadays it's become the norm.
Sure.
But, 50 years ago, he might have been the only guy doing it.
I was just reading, I also find it incredibly cool that Brunson authored Super System, which is widely considered one of the most authoritative books on poker, originally self-published in 1978. So he published it himself. Super System was the book that credited with transforming poker by giving ordinary players, people that just played at home with their buddies on poker nights, it gave them insight into how players such as Doyle Brunson played and won. So much that Brunson believed that it cost him a lot of money.
Oh, 100%. It cost him millions.
And then there was an updated revision of Super System 2, which came out in 2004, that had a bunch of like Bobby Baldwin, Mike Caro, Dave Skolansky, who wrote tons of poker books, Chip Reese, all of them kind of, added to it as well. I think it's cool. I love the fact that in 1978, this poker player, just gambler, just decides I'm going to self-publish a book. I don't know. I think it takes stones, and it's really, that's awesome. I love that idea in general. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, one of the last stories, it was Alec Torelli, he's a coach now and a pretty well-known pro. It was like 2007, and he was playing 10-20 at Bellagio, and he's like, Alec Torelli was like, I don't even know if I was 21 yet. Like, I played in the Bellagio from 17 to 21 with a fake ID. He's like, I just ran up $1 million on full tilt. Like, I just got my bankroll up. And, one of the floor mans came up to him and was like, hey, Doyle Brunson and his entourage are here, and they're looking for another player because they're kind of short. Doyle noticed that you might be one that wants to do it. And Alec Torelli's like, this is my big shot. Like, I just spun up $1 million. Now I get to play in the back room. He's like, I never even played in the back room, let alone with Doyle. And he's like, sure, I'll play. And then to his delight, he gets back there. It's Doyle, 3 Chinese businessmen, and they want to play 200, 400, no limit. In 2007. So Alex Torelli was only the 5th player in a 5-handed game, and Alex is like, yikes, I only brought like, $25K on me. And this is before the days where you can just, wire. And I mean,
right.
I guess
there was no electric. You had to actually have the cash on hand. Or get a marker from the casino.
Yeah. And Doyle just throws him like 5 25K chips and is like, all right, I'll go halves with the kid. And then Doyle and Alec just ended up winning all the money.
That's great.
Like, those are the situations that Doyle gets to be in for being Doyle. You got businessmen that just want to play. They know you're good. They know you're a pro, and they want to play against you.
Yeah.
He sits there and beats them all up.
You're kind of okay with the fact that that you're going to lose, and people just want to be a part of it,
Yeah. I mean, you're going to tell me that if Michael Jordan's like, let's play one-on-one for $100 a game, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, just because I want to say I lost.
Yeah, let's play. I'm in. I want a miracle 1 bank 3, and I need to say I scored on you. That's worth however much I'm going to lose.
That's all I want.
Those business guys probably just want to scoop 1 pot, 1 bluff, 1 hit a flush draw on them. Gamble. They're just gambling. Thought that was a pretty cool story.
It is.
Ends up inviting the 20-year-old kid and then buying half his action. Then they soak the whole table. And Doyle was like, I just got to find a fifth person here to play because these business guys don't want to play four-handed with me and that three. So we got to find somebody in the Bellagio that wants to play 200, 400.
Yeah, which doesn't happen very often in general.
Correct. So yeah, that's my Doyle Brunson spiel.
Very cool. It's a sad day. I think the poker. I'm interested to find out, what kind of like memoriam. What's that word?
Memorandum, maybe.
In memoriam. During the WSOP, what they'll do this year. It was also kind of wild too. Like when you had texted me, I immediately go to Twitter to kind of figure out what's going on, and whatchamacallit, like Todd Brunson, his son had like he tweeted out. He was like, don't kind of chill out because he's like, my mom doesn't even know yet.
It was Mother's Day too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it was Mother's Day.
It was Sunday Mother's Day, and he's like, my mom doesn't even know yet. I saw that tweet.
Yeah.
We were on Twitter at the same time. It's crazy.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Well, thanks for listening as always. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Overlay Pod. If you're in the Houston area, come and check out Paramount Social Club, a longstanding sponsor of this podcast, as well as CCG Poker, the main sponsor, the show that does it all, or the events that do it all. We got the free roll coming up in Chicago. That'll be kind of fun. We got a Titan Final Table that's coming out. If you haven't checked that out, if you haven't watched Pat's game on YouTube, CCG Poker TV, search that on YouTube. There's some wild shit going on in those games.
Yeah, those games are awesome.
Other than that, as always, thank you for listening. Come and see us at an event soon. Brando, ship us out of here.
Farewell, all. GG, Doyle.
GG.